Hi guys, and welcome back to Storytime. So we have another story today. This time we're visiting an old friend. We're going back to Yakaylin Winchley. So this is from Slapjack on the forums, and I'll put the link to this in the description. So I'm getting this off of Tumblr. She's got a fantastic blog on there. Lots of role-playing stuff going on. Very, very good stories. So we're jumping back on with Yakaylin. And we're going to carry on with, we're going to read out this story, which is called A Meeting in Malgrave. And I like this one. I like this one a lot. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy it as well. I stumbled across this one ages ago when I first did Nexus Rising, which was from Slapjack as well. And they said I could use that one. And I read through this one at the same time and really, really enjoyed it. And I figured, well, it's about time we went back and we visited this one and we read this one out for you guys. So this is a very, very good story. I do enjoy this one an awful lot and I hope you do as well. So without further ado, let's get going. A Meeting in Malgrave. Yakaylin Winchley wiped the sheen of sweat from her forehead and lifted up the goggles that protected her from the sun's unrelenting glare. The heat in Malgrave was unbearable at times, but she loved the desert all the same. The cloudless sky felt huge and wide above her. So much air, so much space. No claustrophobic canopy, no twisting of metal and stonework, just space. Her equivars shuddered and whinnied softly beneath her. She reached down to stroke his rough neck scales. I know, don't you worry now, Atlas. It's just up this path and then you can get some shade and a drink, eh boy? How does that sound? With a flick of the reins they started off again, up the narrow twisting path to the east. Atlas' flanks rippling with exertion as the sand shifted beneath his hooves. The desert stretched out in every direction, punctuated by rocky outcrops and parched, gnarled, thorny plant life. They had run into a small explorer encampment to the west, who told them about the loftite-rich canyon nearby, and Kaylin knew right then and there that much loftite in one place, her grandpappy was sure as heck bound to be somewhere nearby. She asked around to see if anyone had heard of an old man Winchley in these parts. No luck at first, until a sky blue furred Orin piped up and pointed her to the hill to the east. Said there was a shack out that way where some crazy old man was meant to be living, boarded up on the account of the eco-terrorist activities at Shardspire. Crazy old man. Sounded like a solid lead for sure. After a good half-day's ride, now they were finally here. She whistled and Atlas slowed from a bone-breaking gallop to a steady trot. They wound their way up the path towards the ramshackle set of buildings. Whoa boy, whoa! She pulled him to a halt, looking around with sun-strained eyes. No one here. The place was derelict and empty. No sign of life, plenty signs of past trouble. Kaylin dismounted and tied Atlas to a hitching post, where he immediately sat down in the cool shade afforded to him by a lean-to, slapdash old granary. She set about unbuckling the straps on the saddlebags and got out a folding portable trough and filled it with water from a large leather skin slung to the saddle's pommel. The slurping sounds of her thirsty equivar echoed off the walls of this eerily quiet place. A flash of movement caught her eye to the left. A bird? The scuttling of a scrab. She cautiously walked towards the nearest building, so crooked it looked like it had been blown apart and fixed together more times than seemed possible. There it was again, in amongst the glass of a broken window pane. Something shiny, something metal, something like the barrel of a gun. She realised with a wave of dread. Kaylin heard the sound of a trigger being cocked. Sounded like a heavy gauge old shotgun. She spun around, hands lifted as she muttered under her breath. The psionic blade at her back started to thrum and spin with energy. You there! A voice like a rusty bow saw grated out from a heavily barred window. Get your sorry ass off my property! She dropped her hands and smiled. Open up, you silly old codger, before I run your blind self out of that hovel and slap you so hard your hair will grow back. She hollered out at the shack. She pulled the goggles up from her face and took off her headscarf. revealing a messy shock of red hair. There was a pause. Then a scraping of bolts and chains being undone. Then Wilson Winchester Winchley poked his head out from the crack of the door. The magnifying lenses of his headgear flickered down over his good eye as he squinted at the figure standing on his front porch. "Oh, saddle me up and call me Susie. Yakaylin, sweetheart, what in the name of deep-fried heck are you doing out here?" He lowered the ancient rusting blunderbuss barrel and flung the door open wide, hobbling on his squat bow legs to greet her. "Pappy!" she squealed as she ran towards the familiar grizzled old face, arms outstretched for a super squeeze of a hug. "Oof!" Old Willie squeezed as his ribs bore the brunt of Yakaylin's tight hug. Yakaylin, all right. There, girl. Easy now, there." He patted her on the head awkwardly and mussed her hair fondly. "It's been too long, Pappy." She kissed him on the cheek, giggling as his bristly whiskered face tickled her chin. He held her at arm's length and looked at her with a sad kind of smile, then sniffed, coughed and spat out a wad of his beloved chewing tobacco. "Well, come on now, don't stand on the porch like a moon-eyed lop. Get yourself inside, child." He spun her around and leant heavily on her arm as they walked slowly inside, bombarding her with questions, clucking like a grandmother gribbon. "You're looking skin and bones, girl. You been eating proper?" "Yes, Grandpappy," she groaned, smiling at the concern in his voice. "Don't you yes pappy me, ungrateful creature," he muttered in the way he always did, struggling to hide the world's biggest grin on his face as he attempted to keep up his grumpy old man demeanour. "Now, come on, you wretched thing, and tell me all about these new friends of yours. Ooh, and I got a gherkin beans on the go." The end. Okay, guys, so thank you very much for listening to Storytime. That was Meeting in Malgrave by Slapjack, Yakaylin Winchley, and I will chuck the link in the description below, so if you want to read it for yourselves or find out more of Yak's wonderful stories, then you'll be able to do so by just following those links in the description. They're very, very good stories, and I do believe I have another one from Yak somewhere in my list of stories. So we'll work through that. Remember, if you'd like your story read out in Storytime, please do send them to me. You can send them to me on Twitter, you can send them to me on the WildStar Roleplay forums or the official forums, and I am now on Tumblr myself, so you can find the Indie Experiment on Tumblr. It's very, very easy. You just look for the Indie Experiment and I pop up, and you can link me stories and things on there and all sorts. So I'm scouring Tumblr at the moment for lots of stories and things, so please do send them to me. I'd also like to say a huge thank you to everyone that's found me on Patreon, has been chatting to me on there, helping me out, and is supporting my channel. It's absolutely amazing, and my Patreon link is in the description as well below. If you have enjoyed this video, guys, please do hit the like button. Why not share it with your friends? And please do subscribe to my channel for all new story times every week. And stay tuned, because there's a huge giveaway coming out. Dun dun dun, giveaway! So thank you very much, guys. I'll see you next time.